In the year 2000, two men flew to Dallas to sell their small, struggling company. They were losing about $57 million a year. They had 300,000 customers, a warehouse full of DVDs, and an idea nobody was sure about. They asked for $50 million. The man across the table laughed at them. That company was Netflix. Today it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The company that laughed no longer exists, except for one single store in Bend, Oregon, kept alive mostly as a museum. Now, you have probably heard this story told as a joke about a fool who could not see the future. That version is wrong, and the true version is much more useful. Because the man who laughed figured it out 4 years later, built exactly the right answer, bet his company on it, and got fired for it. Nobody stole anything here. No fraud, no fake accounts, no missing billions. This is just a giant, healthy, profitable company walking calmly off a cliff and being unable to stop. Explained so simply a 5-year-old could follow along. First, understand how enormous Blockbuster was, because people forget. At its peak, Blockbuster had around 9,000 stores worldwide and about 60,000 employees. There was one in essentially every town in America. Friday night was a ritual. You drove there, you wandered the aisles, you argued about what to watch, you took a plastic case to the counter. If you were a kid in the 1990s, that blue and yellow torn ticket was as familiar as a stop sign. So how did the money actually work? Here is the 5-year-old version, and it is the whole story. Imagine a lemonade stand that rents out cups. You pay $1 to borrow a cup for 2 days? Fine. But if you bring the cup back late, you pay a fine. And here is the important part. The fines are not a small side business. The fines are one of the best parts of the whole operation. That was Blockbuster. Late fees brought in roughly $800 million a year, somewhere around a sixth of the company's revenue. Sit with that. The single thing customers hated most about Blockbuster was one of the most profitable things Blockbuster did. Their worst experience was their best revenue. Remember that, because it is the trap. It is not that nobody at Blockbuster noticed. It is that fixing the thing customers hated meant setting fire to a pile of money that the company's own results depended on. Now, Netflix. In 1997, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph started a company that mailed you DVDs in a red envelope. You kept them as long as you wanted. You mailed them back and got the next one. No driving, no aisles, and crucially, no late fees ever. It sounds obvious now. In 2000, it looked tiny and unimpressive. 300,000 customers against Blockbuster's tens of millions and enormous losses. So when Hastings, Randolph, and their finance chief flew to Dallas to propose that Blockbuster buy them for $50 million and let them run the online side, they were, by their own account, laughed out of the room. Blockbuster's chief executive, John Antioco, considered internet video a niche and the dot-com frenzy overblown. And honestly, given what he could see in 2000, that was a defensible read. Netflix was losing money hand over fist, and a dot-com crash was underway. The mistake was not the laugh. The mistake was what the company was structurally unable to do afterward. Because watch what happens when a big company tries to copy a small one. To beat Netflix, Blockbuster had to offer no late fees, but late fees were a sixth of its revenue. To beat Netflix, Blockbuster had to send DVDs by mail, but it had 9,000 stores, with rent, staff, and shelves, all built for people driving to them. Every single thing that made Blockbuster powerful made it slow. Netflix had no stores to protect, no fee revenue to lose, and nothing to defend. Engineers and business writers have a name for this exact trap: the innovator's dilemma. The strengths that made you win become the chains that stop you from adapting. Blockbuster did not fail because it was blind. It failed because it had more to lose than the thing attacking it. And now the part of this story that almost nobody knows, and the reason it belongs on this channel. In 2004, John Antioco, the same man who had laughed, launched Blockbuster online. Then in January of 2005, he did the genuinely brave thing. He abolished late fees. It cost the company an estimated $200 million in lost revenue, and about the same again to implement. He was deliberately burning the most hated, most profitable part of his own business because he had finally seen where this was going. Then in 2006, he launched something called Total Access. You could rent a DVD by mail and return it to a physical store and walk out with another one immediately. Netflix could not match that because Netflix had no stores. For the first time, Blockbuster had a weapon that used its size as an advantage instead of an anchor. And it worked. Blockbuster started taking subscribers from Netflix faster than Netflix could replace them. Reed Hastings has since said publicly that this was the period when Netflix was genuinely frightened. So why are we not all renting from Blockbuster today? Because the plan was expensive and the company's owners lost their nerve. The activist investor Carl Icahn had built a large stake and won seats on the board. To Icahn and his allies, Antioco was spending enormous money on an online business that was not yet profitable while the stock sagged. The relationship curdled, and it eventually came down to a fight over Antioco's bonus. In 2007, he left. His replacement, Jim Keyes, came from convenience stores and had a different philosophy. Under the new direction, the aggressive online push was pulled back, promotion of Total Access was reduced, and fees returned in a new form. The company turned back toward its stores, the thing it already knew how to do. The strategy that was beating Netflix was switched off, on purpose, by the company that owned it. Now watch the timing, because it is brutal. In 2007, the same year Antioco walked out, Netflix launched streaming. No envelopes, no post, no stores, just a button. By the time Blockbuster understood what streaming meant, it was carrying enormous debt from its retail empire. In September of 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. A satellite company bought the remains, and by around 2014, the corporate stores were gone. One franchise in Bend, Oregon survives, and people fly in to take photographs of it. Netflix, the company that was laughed at for $50 million, went on to be worth more than the entire American video rental industry ever was. So what do you actually take from this? First, the most dangerous number in a business is the one that is both hated and profitable. Late fees were a warning light disguised as a revenue line. When your customer's single worst experience is a thing you depend on, you are not running a business, you are running a countdown. Somebody will eventually offer that experience without the pain, and everything you built will make it harder to respond. Second, seeing it is not the same as surviving it. Antioco saw it. He was right. He built the correct answer, and it was winning. He still lost because a public company under pressure has to defend a plan for years, and the people funding it can lose patience faster than a strategy can pay off. Being right early looks identical to being wrong, right up until it does not. And third, the quiet one. We spent 12 stories on people who stole. This one had no villain at all. 1,000 reasonable decisions, each defensible on its own, added up to a company that could not save itself. That is how most fortunes actually die, not to a thief, to a habit. The graveyard is full of companies that were the biggest thing in the world, and the way they die is almost never dramatic. It is slow, sensible, and completely avoidable in hindsight. If you want more true stories like this, drawn badly on purpose and explained simply on purpose, subscribe. Next time, the company that invented the digital camera in 1975 looked at it and decided to lock it in a drawer.